Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out to our dinner. I really appreciate you all being here and spending your time learning more about Agave spirits. I wanted to introduce Fieri, who is one of the co-owners of Santo Tequila, which we'll be drinking tonight. If you know anything about him, he knows flavors and has a lot of passion about developing flavors while keeping traditionality. So first off, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for sharing all of this with the people of El Paso.
Well, Councilwoman of Tequila Land, thank you very much.
Well, perfect. We'll jump right into some of the things behind Santo. I know you and Sammy Hagar both emphasize a lot about keeping tequila true and traditional to the methods. Why is that so important to you both?
Well, I have to default to Sammy because Sammy, I call him the godfather of tequila. Sammy was doing Cabo Wabo before there was such thing as a celebrity tequila and all that. Sammy and I don't go by celebrity tequila, but I just kind of have to reference it because other people start to see, rock stars like Sammy or cooks like myself get into this and oh, it's a celebrity thing. Now, this was way before that. When Sammy, I was a big Sammy fan and we're living in Northern California and Sammy came out with Cabo Wabo. And I'm like, yeah, I'll support a local guy. And I love Sammy. And hey, it's great tequila. And that's just how it all started. And I was one of the number one accounts. And when Sammy sold, I was heartbroken. One, because I think I had like 40 cases still in my garage. Because but I collected every bottle that came out. I mean, it was really a cool thing. And Sammy said, no, it never happened again. I sold. I'm going to be done. I said, well, Sammy, if by chance in 10 years when this covenant not to compete is over, call me. So sure enough, he did. And we both shared the same thing about, both love Mexico. I have a house in Mexico. Sammy has a house in Mexico. I've been going to Mexico since I was a kid. And there really is a difference between the tequila we were drinking in the States and the tequila we were getting in Mexico. And I'm not talking about mezcal. That's a different world. And a lot of people, oh, that tequila and the worm and the thing. No, as soon as people started telling me that, I'm like, you don't understand really what we're talking about. And it was kind of some infancy stages of people getting into tequila, but it's really grown. And thank you to people like yourself and everybody else that's really representing the truth in tequila. And I have no, by the way, let me just say something. I love my tequila that Sammy and I make, but there's no shame in the game. If you're making tequila and people are drinking it, if you have a tequila you like, amen. I've always been that way as a chef also. I don't get into, oh, you can't eat this or you can't put that on that or da da da. That's not my, as long as you're not hurting yourself, as long as you're not doing something, as long as you're not taking incredible tequila and mixing it with, something it shouldn't be mixed. But anyhow, back to that whole point. When we started talking about it, we shared so much of the same respect. There's nothing in tequila but Weber Blue Agave. And the way you grow it, the way you harvest it, the way you treat it, the way you cook it, the way you distill it, the way you store it, the way you process it, the way you bottle it, all of these little components not little, they're huge components, but all of the sum of these components are what make great tequila. And I use this example all the time. And I'm sorry, I know you got other questions asked, but you're going to get me on a rant here and I won't. Let's talk about it. I'll talk about it from an apple pie. Everybody can understand the context of apple pie. We all love apple pie.
Love it.
You pick the apple, the Granny Smith apple, one of my favorites. Remember when I was a kid, picking one for an apple from a tree and you'd bite into it, it's rock hard, and you're like, wow, something wrong with the apple. You come back 2 weeks later, you pick this apple right in that same area, and it's juicy and it's delicious. What's the difference? Ripe and unripe. Well, 2 weeks isn't that big of a deal of an apple on a tree. But if you make that pie with an unripe apple, what do you have to do? You have to add more sugar. You have to add more vanilla. You have to add flavor.
Right.
So what happens is when the succulent, when the Weber Blue Agave grows, it doesn't change that much from 6 years to 8 years in age, but it does ripen and it does get a profoundly different flavor. And does anybody want to wait an extra 2 years for something that's going to grow a little bit bigger? Not much. So there was not games, there's changes in way people were doing it where they were saying, hey, okay, it's not quite ready, but we'll kind of give it a little help. And that's when people started moving off the center of where tequila was. that you use the best product you can, you're going to get the best product that's available. And I think the way it's farmed, I think it's the way it's trimmed. That's one of the things when you start trimming those leaves off that pina, you can leave a little extra. That will make tequila. That will get into the juice factor. But the reality of it is there's going to be a sourness to it. So anyhow, that's kind of where the whole thing went. But Sammy and I, share so many common appreciations of music, food. Sammy's a great chef. I'm a horrible guitar player. So tequila and music is tequila and food is what we really share. But that's kind of my answer.
Well, the thing is, in all of what you just said, the fact is, like, you actually know every part of the process and all those little decisions, but you're right, they're not little decisions, those are all big decisions, do impact everything. Days even impact things in the fermentation process. And the fact that, and I'll be honest, I interview a lot of brand owners, and not many of them even know all the parts of the process in the way that you just went through it. And so I think that's a testament alone that, like, you don't just like the product, you didn't just taste Sammy's and saw, hey, this is good, but you really dedicated yourself to knowing it and learning it. And it shows up in the glass and how you sip it. So
Well, and I think, let's just talk about that, for instance. One of the number one things I talk to people about is what are you drinking in? What are you drinking with? What are you adding to? There's just so many little things. And I was an exchange student in France when I was 16. And I remember writing my parents and saying, I just had a steak and French fries, and it tasted like the greatest thing I've ever had. And granted, I came from a ranch community, so we had, I think, pretty good steak. But there was such a difference of how things are grown, and when all it is that, then it better be great. And you really better pay some attention to it. And I think that so often, we start to move off of things. Like I played a record for my youngest son is 19. He goes to San Diego State, and we got a record player, and I played a record for him. I played Journey. And he sat there and looked at it. He says, it's like the music's really right there. And it was so
that's
funny to
awesome.
hear him say that. But it is that if you go down to Mexico, and hopefully I assume, you got the biggest fans of agave going on there right now. I mean,
Absolutely.
I know you're leading the town hall on this, but it really is one of those feelings about being down there and having that energy and being around
Sure.
people that are cultivating and experience, that whole energy is a different world. And I think that when you start to embrace it like that, and again, like I said, people say, "Oh, so you only drink yours?" I said, "No." I said, "There's a lot of tequilas that I drink. There's a lot of tequilas that that I never had in the United States." So open your mind to the world of tequila and allow yourself to try things. I just think the mass processed ones have their place, but I think we're moving past that.
No, and I agree. One of the tequilas that we're sipping tonight is actually the high proof, the 110 Blanco, which,
That's my baby right there. Just so you know.
wow, well, I would say it's actually my favorite of the lineup, especially price point, flavor, and I think to the point you were just saying, high proofs are extremely hard because it's just agave, water, and yeast. You can't hide anything else. And even then, because of the high proof, there's no water. So it's really just true distilling at its finest. And so I'm excited that they're going to try this one. They're also going to be trying the mezquila, which is a brand new kind of category that you all created. I was hoping you could tell us a little bit more about the inspiration behind that one and what made you want to combine these two spirits.
Well, I'd love to take all the credit in the world on mezquila or take any of the credit, but I can't. I have to give that to my big brother Sammy, who really is. I mean, I got to say this about this because I think people look at, since the celebrity thing has come into play so hard on tequila. Sammy was doing this before it was cool. Sammy was living down in Mexico and spending time down there and embracing tequila way before anybody. I mean, we only had a couple tequilas we were bringing in the United States back then. I mean, it was really pretty simple, and you know which ones those are. So anyhow, so Sammy called me and asked me if I wanted to get involved, and he didn't really even give me an option. He just said, "Are you in or you're not?" And I said, "In what, Sammy? Into going to Mexico? Into what? Just yes or no?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Great. We're in the tequila business. Now send me $250,000." Wow, that guy kind of got it and jumped into this one kind of quick. And he sent me mezquila. And as soon as I heard mezcal, I got to be honest with you. I drink a lot of things. I'm a wide variety guy about all kinds of flavors and stuff. Mezcal is, there's only like a couple that I can handle, you know?
I hear you.
And so it became, so he sent it to me and I'm like, wait a second. I love this. And I don't love this just because Sammy's sending it to me. I get a little bit of smokiness and I do like smokiness. I mean, of course, as a chef, and but I get a really nice clean finish. I'm not getting the entire spectrum where it was just too much for my palate. And that became the real genesis, the real start of this. And so when we did that, so we did Mezquila and I said to Sammy, we got trademark it right now. He goes, no, no, no. I want Mezquila to become a thing. I want people to have this chance to get a little bit of the smokiness, but not have it be so much. And so we did that, but I kept going on for about the first year and a half. I said, if the Blanco is this good, let's please do some Blanco. Everybody does Blanco. I said, we got to do, let's just bring the Blanco in. So we did, and it kind of stemmed from there. But that was the idea. And don't get me wrong, the people that could go the big mezcal tastings, the flights. I mean, I've done them. I want to be there, but it's sometimes just a little bit too much for me. Um, the 110, on the other hand, I wasn't doing 110 to be sensational. It wasn't 110. Hey, let's make a college drink and get everybody. No, if you really want to taste agave, if you really want to have a big flavor of Weber Blue Agave and what this is, you're right. It's not just crank up the volume because one of the things that kills me when people cook, they'll say, "How's that bottle of wine? That red wine? Oh, it's not that good. Okay, we'll save it. We'll cook with it." No, 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 no. You don't take something that's not good as it is and then intensify it. It just gets worse. So you really have to have great foundation to make something that goes to that purity level. And I agree with you. I'm a 110 fan all day long, and I've tried to explain it to people. And unfortunately, you have to get people over this idea of high proof and oh, it's gonna burn, it's gonna be hot. I said, if your tequila's burning you and your tequila's hot, you got a different issue. But it's just so great, neat. I mean, a little. I'll take it. I mean, I make a great jalapeno margarita with it. Again, simple ingredients, great ingredients. No such thing as lime juice in a bottle. I mean, like I was going back to the thing about the ice and the glassware. Clean glassware. You have crappy glassware. Not the build of the glassware, but the washing of it. I mean, a little bit of soap residue, whatever you thought you were drinking, is over.
Wow. It's true though. I think it's why they say you shouldn't be like wearing perfume when you're tasting, or you shouldn't, or should be have just eaten but not super hungry yet, so that you're still using the palate to its fullest senses and being able to really appreciate all of the work and years that went into that agave as well. But I think the
Well, it's like
mezquila is
people salting food when it comes to the table. Taste the food. And you're right. What you set your palate for. When I do diners, drive-ins, and dives, I have a real regiment about what I eat, what I don't eat, and how I walk into these restaurants because I have to give my full palate. And I don't do, we do 3 locations in a day. People like, if you did 4 in a day or 5 in a day, you could just get so much more done. And I'm like, it's not about that. You can exhaust your palate. You can go too far. So it's little bites, it's small quantities, it's not eating anything sensationally high. It's really keeping in mind with what's going on because it is your olfactory. You're not just tasting it, you're smelling it. It's all going on at one time.
expect, yeah, and even if you're in Mexico, 10 times as much with all the environment, the culture that's there. I agree with you entirely. But anyways, I know you have limited time today, so I'm going to ask you just one last final question. The theme of this dinner, this is Dia de los Muertos time frame. It's a really important time, as you know, in the Mexican culture in which we honor those that have passed and the people that have given us so much tradition too. And so I was hoping you could send us off with a little toast to those that we have remembered and to those we love.
Well, I spent a lot of my time in Mexico with my family and my little sister Morgan, and that's Morgan's. I don't know if you can see my tattoo there, but
A little bit, yeah.
that's Morgan's tattoo, and it that was that was done, and you can kind of see the spirit of the candle in there,
Yeah.
of how my tattoo artist did it. And then on the first anniversary of her passing, I put my sugar skull on
Oh, that's awesome.
my forearm. And I come from a very spiritual family. Parents were hippies back in the day, not dope smoking hippies, but just kind of hippies. And so I really believe in the energy that we have around us and the people that are with us. And, life, I'm 57, and I've come to understand, losing my little sister, losing my dad. We've lost so many great people in our lives. And there's two things I think about that. One, appreciate every single day we have. Don't live your life for what's tomorrow. Live your life for what we have today. And we're so blessed. We live in the greatest country in the world. And we have so many wonderful opportunities. Here we are. We're having a whole dinner and conversation about tequila. There's people that don't even get to have a conversation about what they're going to get to eat or where they're going to sleep. So we live in a very blessed time and environment. And secondarily, and the other side of that is make sure we don't forget who we are and where we came from. I'm not saying living in the past, but I'm saying continue to bring it with you, because there's so many celebrations and so much recognition. I keep my sister alive every day by talking about her. I've tattooed her right on my arm. And I think that sometimes it's hard. Don't get me wrong. I get teary eyed about it. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps even saying something right now. But I believe that's a little connection. That's me getting to tell her I love her and that I appreciate her. So that's part of what the celebration is, or what the celebration really is celebrating those and recognizing how fortunate we are. So I salute you. I thank you very much for this opportunity. You've been a great fan, a great supporter of Santo. We are the little engine that could. We haven't stopped. Sammy and I really believe in this. It's not, first thing we say is we're not a celebrity branded tequila, but really appreciate you and the entire dinner tonight. Hope you have a great time. Enjoy some fantastic tequilas and continue to support these artists that are out there and these small brands that are trying to help people recognize the truth in tequila.
No, thank you. I mean, for putting on a product that I can actually say is absolutely incredible, and I would put my honor behind. So thank you.
You're great. Thank you so much for having me. I hope everybody has a great time tonight.